All right, new month, new what's in my cart video. This one's a little bit later than I typically do them, but the poll over on Instagram, you guys said you still wanted to see it, even though we're already pretty much halfway through the month. But this is going to be my cart for overflowing from ByTheWell4God. I'm doing things a little bit differently this month. The cart setup is the same. We'll go over to my desk and I will show you what all I have in here. However, I'm not going to be Bible journaling the devotional kit. I'm actually working through the gratitude for the attributes of God prompts that they had over there for free in this little pocket Bible I have down at the bottom. So I've already been doing some little cards over on Instagram, but I'll take you through everything that I have in my cart and that will work for both the kit and that gratitude project. So let's head on over to my desk and we'll go through each tier of my cart. All right, so I've gone ahead and pulled out the top tier for you guys. Like I said, very similar to past What's in My Cart videos. Everything will be linked down below for you guys. It's still available, but I like to share these so that you can see maybe new things that you wanted to add to your stash, but also remind you of things that you may already have in your stash to pull out and to use. So I did double check. The Overflowing Devotional Kit is still available over in the shop. This is their typical 14-day devotional kit that comes with all the goodies. I will have an unboxing. I'll link down below if you want to see the full release, because I will be kind of glancing over some of the things from the release. So you do have this option to work through, which is great. It's not just Thanksgiving themed. So even though we're coming up towards, we're the middle of the month, but there is still time to grab this and work through this devotional if you wanted to do that. But like I said, I'll work through the devotional content in my growth book and still take the notes and do all of that. But as far as creating, I'm doing something a little bit different. So over on the website, they do have the gratitude for the attributes of God. This is a free printable that you can get. This was like a 30-day, I think it's 30, daily gratitude project for the month of November. But again, it's not too late. There's never a bad time to be grateful, right? And to study the attributes of God. So there's no reason why you can't still grab this and jump in now and work through it. Maybe do it with your kiddos, maybe grab it and set it aside for after the holiday time. You can go as deep as you want with these scriptures or keep it, fairly simple. I'm going to be keeping it fairly simple. Each day they have a selection of verses for the different attribute of God. I know in my unboxing video, I mentioned that we're not going to all fit in the pocket Bible because this is just the New Testament, Psalms, and Proverbs. But I was incorrect. Each one of these does have at least a New Testament or Psalm or Proverb verse. So you can document all of these in one of the pocket Bible kits that they do. Now, they do have these kits. I'm not sure if they still have this colorway. Again, it'll be linked down below if they do. This is their little kits that comes with a pocket Bible, a selection of fabrics, and some little cards to document with in the Bible, so they're sized to fit in there. The cards are colored depending on what colorway that you pick up, and then they also have little mini stickers that work for those cards, and so then you can journal on the cards and then tuck them in this Bible. So I already went ahead and covered mine with some fabric, and then I've done a couple of the cards. All I'm doing is very, very simple, going through each attribute, documenting a couple of the verses, and then maybe a note or a quote or something like that stood out to me, and then tucking it here in this Bible. So there have already been a couple of videos for these. I have been trying to post them here on YouTube as well. So they are very, very simple. So when it came to packing my cart, this is the project that I had in mind when I pulled products. So just keep that in mind as I go through things. I definitely don't have nearly as much in my cart this time around. There's still a ton of stuff, but not nearly as much as I usually pack in there. Also just because I don't want to be too overwhelming. So that is the project that I will be working in. Now, they did also have the Gratitude Tag Bob kit. These are sold out, but this was a set of tags and stickers and things so that you could work through those gratitude prompts in tag format, but you very easily could create this on your own using some tag dies or some of the Tim Holtz and Ranger mixed media tags and do something similar. So this is sold out, but it is an alternative project option. So as far as things go on the top of my cart, this is mostly going to be things from the release. So I have this organizer from Target packed full. I have a couple of trays. Now I do have like some little bulldog clips and safety pins and paper clips. I don't always use chunky stuff in this Bible because it's not, it's not going to get super, super fat. It'll get fat easily. So you just have to be careful that you use, thinner things. But these are just something that stays in the top part of my cart all the time, just so it's easy to grab. Some baker's twine that came in the ephemera pack and that kind of goodness. And then this one has the various pieces of ephemera. I like to go through and cut off the border. So I'm kind of in the process of doing that, but this just makes it super easy. Like I said, these cards are very small, so it doesn't take very much. You're just basically doing a background, a little cluster, maybe the title, and I'm running these through my typewriter. Very, very, very easy. So I do need to get caught up. I've only done 3 cards, and today is the 16th of the month at the time of filming this. So I obviously have some that I need to do this weekend to get caught up, but I can still do that. So these 2 trays sit on the top, and then just smaller things kind of sit on the top. I have some grit paste and some crackle paste. I do like to use a little bit of texture on those cards, and so this is an easy way to do that. I've just transferred mine into little tubs so that they're easier to store and work from. And then I have some little fastener brads just for adding detail on those cards if I want to do that as well. So those kind of things just pretty much always live out on my cart. I have a selection of washi tape. I have a ton of washi tape that I'm trying to work my way through. So most of these are Felicity Jane, and Felicity Jane is going out of business. So you might want to take a look at the Felicity Jane website. I no longer have an affiliate link with them, so you can just head on over and shop. But I will have a link, to direct you over there if you want. Now is the time to scoop up some things at a way discounted price. I haven't double checked to see if she still has washies, but these were some of my favorites. And then this one is just a Scotch brand washi. And so these are great for just adding, something for the die cuts to kind of sit on, kind of like a ground. And so I like just, having a quick little bit of washi on these cards. So there's just a selection of those. I do have a little pile of fabrics. I have a section of fabrics that you could order. They had these fabric packs in the shop, some of the fabrics from the bow clippies from the kits. And then this was the leftovers from covering my pocket Bible. So you can see I've already kind of cut into these, tear them, just adding little bits and pieces to my cards just to add a little bit of interest to them. Again, those cards are very small and you don't want them super thick, so I'm just adding a little bit, but there is enough here. I could even cover one of those cards entirely with this fabric and have a fabric card if I wanted to. So a few different ways to use those. I do like to have things kind of poking out of the edges, kind of making it fluffy. And so using some lace trim. These are just from Hobby Lobby. I do also have this canvas trim. I think this has been in my last 3 or 4 What's in My Cart videos, still unopened. I'm determined to use this at some point. So this I thought would be fun to kind of type on or add a title or something like that. I like the burlap. With fall themed, I really love texture. I love, fabrics and burlaps and plaids and things like that. So that's kind of what I have in mind as I'm picking things out of my stash. So have those. And then in the top, I do keep the stamp sets from the release because I do want to be intentional about using the newest stamp sets. And so these live on the top of my cart. I've already done a stamp masking video for you guys showing how to layer things into the containers. I did double check and it looks like these filler pieces will fit in these 2 larger pieces of this stamp set as well. So you can kind of mix and match. I do believe they still have stamps in stock. So those live on the top. And then I also put the Big Idea outline. They've restocked this a few times. I do believe it's still in stock. I have been using this is from last month's release, but using it just to mark the number of the day on the card somewhere. They're really great for that. I'm embossing it with some embossing glaze, which I have in the second tier, just to you know, kind of add that in there. And since they're open numbers, you can do it over the top of your text and still see the text through it. And especially with that embossing glaze, because it's translucent, you can see it as well. So it's, you know, takes up a big amount of space, but you're still able to utilize that space with your notes and things like that. So that lives on the top. And then I do have some additional stamps in the second tier that we will get to. Of course, I have my little container for paintbrushes and pens and paint, you know, all that goodness, pokey craft tool. But I also have my Neocolor 2 crayons. Now, I don't do a whole lot of water medium on these cards. I just don't, because they're made out of regular cardstock. So I don't want to get them too wet, but you could cut these from watercolor cardstock also if you wanted to do some more watercoloring. The colors I got from the swatches over at ByTheWell4God. So for Neocolor 2 crayons, we have English red, golden yellow, moss green, night blue, saffron, and cinnamon. So those are the colors for Neocolors. And then for Distress colors, these will be the same colors for Distress ink pads, sprays, paints, glazes, all the things. I don't have one of the colors. I do not have Fired Brick in the Distress crayons, but for Distress crayons, it would be Fired Brick, Peeled Paint, Wild Honey, Antique Linen, Weathered Wood, Faded Jeans, and Rusty Hinge. Again, those colors were suggested by ByTheWell4God. So you can kind of see the color palette there, and that makes it nice and consistent. And I got everything pulled and ready to go. I'm not having to go through my stash to find the colors. It's just really easy to grab for them if I've already pulled those colors. Okay, again, this is an organizer from Target. I know so many of you have been messaging me saying that you're finding them in your stores. Some people are actually finding them at a discounted price as well, as low as like $4. So definitely check out the discount sections of your Targets. I have had to go to a few different stores. I now have 2 of these. I've had lots of suggestions from you guys for alternatives, but I just like the sizing of this particular one. It fits in the cart, leaving me room on the side. It's narrow this way, so I have room in the front of my cart. I like how it is positioned so I can see everything. It's not too deep and it's all accessible. I'm not having to mess with drawers and things like that. This largest section in the back will fit 12 by 12 pattern papers. So if you are a scrapbooker or want to use 12 by 12 papers, they will also stay in here. So that is why I love this one. And it's nice looking. It's not like chintzy looking. It matches some of the other stuff in my office. So I know you guys have other suggestions. You are free to use whatever you find and you love, but I love these ones from Target, and I'll try to have them linked down below. But like I said, I just have mostly things from the release in here, all the stickers, the dyeable muslin sheets. I have a couple packs of those. I did pull these die cuts. These are from last year. I don't think that they're in the shop any longer, but if you've got them, pull them. These are the Sunflower Harvest, and they do pair well with the sunflowers that are in this release, and some of the colors are similar as well. So if you wanted some additional die cuts, these would definitely be an option to pull out and utilize. So I've got those in there. I've got, you know, my paint card, journaling cards, you know, all the stickers, all that goodness. Again, you can see that in detail in the unboxing video. I have the flashcards in there in case I want to utilize those on my cards. I did pull a few of these. Now, these are not the journal cards from Tim Holtz. They are the pocket cards from Tim Holtz. So the difference is the journal cards have like design on the front and then are a little more neutral on the back, giving you places to journal. These are more just like patterned collage papers. So, I mean, there are some that are a little bit more neutral, but for the most part, they are, you know, very heavily printed on both sides. These are slightly smaller than the pocket cards. You can see there's a little bit left, and I don't mind that. I can add some washi or I can add some trim or something, but I figured these would be a good way for just like instant backgrounds. So again, these are the pocket cards from Tim Holtz. I just went through the packet. They come in 3 different sizes. These are the medium size ones, and I just picked a couple, just 5. Nothing, you know, I'm not trying to be over the top with the supplies in my cart. Just a few that would match the colors and the designs for instant backgrounds when I need a quick day. I can just splatter a little bit of ink on here, do my title, add a die cut, and I'm done. I'm good to go. So I've just pulled a few of those to have in there. I have like the pattern papers from the release up here, the notebooks in case I want to use those. But for stencils, of course, I have the 2 from this release, but then I've also pulled some from my stash. So I have Momentary Affliction. Let me give you something to see on here. Momentary Affliction. This one is still available in the ByTheWell4God shop. This has some really great text for using, blending ink through, or I can emboss with it. I'm not wanting to be super, super thick with my embossing in that smaller Bible, so I can get a like shallower embossing with stencils, but still have that texture. So that will be down below. But then I also have this kind of acorn. That's not a great, there we go, that's probably better. Acorn and leaves one. This one is not in the shop any longer, but you may have it in your stash. Again, blending ink or embossing or texture paste through that. And then the other ones I pulled are Tim Holtz. So I have Thatched. Again, I'm really looking for textures with those kind of fall colors. Dot Fade, very, simple. Again, you can emboss with it or add ink or texture paste. I love Distress, so grime layering, and then Speckles is just a smaller, slightly different version of that one. And then Autumn layering. You can see I have obviously loved this one. And some of these things are going to be repeats from last month because last month had some fall colors and naturey things to it as well. And so there will be some repeat items that you'll see in the cart this month. I did go ahead and pull out my remnant rubs from Tim Holtz. I have Eccentric and Specimen. These, again, are another great way to add details to the cards, and it's flat. These are the, you just rub it on and it sticks to the page. You don't have to get messy like with inks and stamping while still having some interest on the cards. So I went ahead and stuck those in here. And then I pulled these out. These were the Madison alphabet from Felicity Jane. Again, I'm not sure what they still have available in the shop, but if you love puffy stickers, now is the time to stock up on them over at Felicity Jane now that they're going out of business. This particular one is very, very small, and so it's perfect for fitting into smaller labels and on these smaller cards. I've been doing variation of things for the attributes each time. This was just handwritten, but you could use these, and they're puffy, but not super, super puffy. So they're not going to add too much dimension to those cards. So that is everything that is in the top tier of my cart. Let me go ahead and move this over and we'll pull out the mediums and stamps and things from the second tier. All right, second tier is mostly going to be mediums, and then there are stamps and dies and embossing folders. I'll pull those out after this section, but this is everything that stays in the second tier. I do have my mini tin full of my mini distress inks. These are my neutrals. I'll have these tins linked down below. This just makes it really convenient because I can just grab the neutrals and use it for inking up edges, inking up die cuts. I store the blending foams on the bottom of them, and then in front of me on my desk I have my blending tools that grab a hold of those foams. I have a whole selection of them. Hopefully not going to fall apart right in front of me. So that just makes it really easy for distressing. And then I do have this. I've pulled out my Dymo label maker, and this is really nice for just making quick and easy labels, obviously. So filling out the titles, a word, something like that. And then it's sticky back adhesive, and I can just stick it down. It is, I'm working on those smaller cards, so longer words like faithful and self-existent, self-sufficient, things like those, I'll have to do something a little bit different. But for shorter words, wise, worthy, things like that, I can use this for just creating a quick word title. And so I will link this down below. It's really nice to have. Okay, these little baskets are from Target. These are the Y Weave baskets from Target. Mine always have them in different colors, different sizes, and so I'll try to link them down below, but I just grabbed them in store. I've kept in some alcohol inks and foundry waxes. These just have kind of developed a permanent spot in my cart. Just really convenient. Alcohol inks are great for tinting, you know, paper clips, even tinting staples. So I may do a video on that. I'm not sure where my little mini stapler is, but if you guys are interested in how to color staples for the tiny attacher, let me know in a comment down below and I'll try to do a quick little shorts video on that. But alcohol inks are great for that. I also have my Distress embossing glazes. Now, the Distress glazes do not come in the full palette of Distress colors quite yet, so I don't have all of them, but in here I have the Rusty Hinge, Weathered Wood, Peeled Paint, and Antique Linen. I'll probably have to substitute something like Crackling Campfire or something like that for the red if I wanted to use red, or the new Lumberjack Plaid color. Let me grab that. That is this one here, which is a little, you know, pinker than, I'm trying to find a red from here. Okay, so you can see it's a little pinker than the red that is used in this kit, but I mean, a red is red, right? So that is the new Lumberjack Plaid, so I'll stick that in there. And then I also have the Versamagic chalk inks. These are great for stamping, especially in your Bible, because they're not going to bleed through. Again, for the colors, these are from ByTheWell4God's swatches. I have Thatched Straw, Red Brick, Pumpkin Spice, Gingerbread, Aging Blue, Wheat, and Aloe Vera are the colors that I have of those. These are really great inks, especially if you're traveling or on the go. It's nice because they're nice and small, and they're a good ink for these types of projects. So there is that one. And then this one just gets a stack of my Distress Oxide inks. I don't have the Distress inks in the full pads. I have them in the mini pads. So if I can just grab them out of my tins if I want to. But I kind of do, this is my thinking behind this. I do Distress spray stains if I want the intense true color without any of that oxidized kind of softness. And then I have the oxide pads. And so I can kind of mix and match. I can stamp with these if I want to. Of course, it's going to give you kind of a watercolor look. If I want to dip paper, I can dip them in this, but I can also squish this out onto a nonstick craft sheet and mix and match if I'm wanting that oxide with spray stains. So that's kind of my thinking for doing oxide ink pads and then spray stains rather than spray oxides and Distress, however you want to do it. This is how I do it. I do an intense true color and then that oxidized color in these mediums. So there are those in there. So let me go ahead and move these and we'll move on to the stamps, dies, and embossing folders. Okay, this is the section that always seems a little bit overwhelming, and I over pull for this section. I'm definitely not going to use all of this. Mainly, this is just to remind you guys of what you might have in your stash, or maybe something you want to add to your stash. I usually kind of pick a few and then stick with those. So not everything, especially for the stamps from ByTheWell4God, are still available. Some of those are sold out, but again, it's just to remind you what you might have in your stash. So let's start with dies. Remember, I'm working on these smaller cards, so I'm kind of limited in what I can do on here, but these really make, great little accent pieces. Like on this card here, I just used a couple die cuts to add to the printed die cuts from the kit, and it just kind of adds something different. I really love how this card turned out. But so I have skeleton leaves from Sizzix and Tim Holtz. This is a favorite in the fall. Vintage labels, I believe. Yes, vintage labels. This one embosses or debosses down into it, so you can ink up the die before you run it through your die cutting machine. And so these smaller ones will be great for those smaller cards. This one I think I had last month also, Leafy Twigs. Now, of course, it is a very large die, but I could cut apart pieces and layer that over the card just to add some fun texture. These are great for using with the patterned papers from the kit. I might just use more plain color with this one, but if you're looking for ways to use the patterned papers, this is what I like them with, is with the die cuts, and it just creates really fun ephemera pieces. This one here, Leaf Fragments, another favorite of mine. I know a couple of ladies from the team have been using this one as well. Fall Foliage, Again, leaves, pretty self-explanatory. This one is simple plaid. I do believe they have a new plaid one that he came out with his most recent release. I don't have this one. This one's a little bit more of a wonky plaid, but again, similar to using this leafy twigs, I can cut apart and use a piece of it to kind of cover my card and create some interest on the background. This one here is cut out blossoms. This one kind of seemed like it would go with the open sunflowers a little bit in here. This one does not cut a die cut. This actually cuts the holes into the paper, and you could do like a peekaboo. So again, another way to add interest to those cards without adding a lot of dimension, just by cutting out of the card and then adding a pattern paper behind it gives you that interest without, bulk. And then this is Spellbinder's Fall Leaves. This is an older die. I'm not sure if this one's still available, but there's these 3 leaves in here. It cuts out the leaf, but then it also adds the veining detail when you emboss it. So these are really nice dies that I've used for several years. So those are the dies that I have picked out. Let's do embossing folders. So I have Quilted. Again, just looking for fabrics and textures. Doily, another good one, just using a section of that. These are the 3D embossing folders though, so these do add quite a bit of texture, but it should be fine in that smaller Bible. Leaf veins, this one's great for using with the leaf dies to add some additional texture, especially these ones here. These are the fall foliage. They do not have any detail on them. They're just a flat leaf. So I'll cut the leaves out of pattern paper or inked up paper and then run it through this embossing folder and it'll give it this veining detail. This one here is foliage, so just a pile of leaves. Like I said, some of these are repeats from last month. Acorns, leaves and acorns, pretty self-explanatory there. And then this wood grain one, this is lumber. I love this folder. This is the one that I did with this card here, and then added a little bit of crackle paste and created that wood background. And you can see this is a 3D folder, but it's not obnoxiously chunky in my Bible. So there are the 3D embossing folders that I have pulled. All right, and then for stamps, again, some of these are still currently available over at ByTheWell4God and some are sold out. So Revealed Nature, got those leaves and that acorn. Cable collage, this is a sweater collage pattern, again, going for texture. And this is a great way to get texture without the bulk, right? Because you're just stamping the texture. Build Plaid DIY, I'm not sure, I don't think this one's been restocked, but this has three different pieces, and depending on how you turn it and layer it, you can build up a plaid pattern with it. Really great. Again, I'm not sure if this one's still in. I do know that one of the other companies came out with a really great plaid building set, so I will try to find that and link that down below if this one isn't available. Defined, just looking for some scripty texture for the backgrounds. You know, these cards, this is not the set that comes with this colorway, but they are already colored. You get 4 different colored cards. So, I mean, and they do have some distressing on them already. So just by stamping, adding a die cut, adding your title, you're good to go. So you don't really have to do a whole lot to those cards. Praise from Old, again, just looking for some texture detail, and then trying to go through and pull out some older ones that go along with the newer stamps. So New Growth, New Life has these, I do believe these are daisies, but I mean, you know, you do you. I thought that it would kind of go with the style of flowers that are in the die cuts. Sunflower, I did check. This one is available in the shop. I love how this one's kind of peeking in from the side, so you can create tabs out of these or have them kind of coming in from the side. Then you have that really big sunflower there and then some additional leaves. So really love that set. Loved Floral had some in here that looked similar to the flowers in this release. Increase and Overflow. This is from last year's fall kits. This is the same time they released these die cuts here. So you can see with the pails and the flowers, very similar but different from this year. But, you know, pull them out, mix and match. I love little boots in there as well. This is a super old stamp set. This is Truck of Blessings, acorns, leaves. You've got that pumpkin and truck. So some great pieces there. Autumn blooms, so slightly different florals, but you got some leaves in there, and you know, just kind of going for autumn, fall, you know, whatever I have in my stash, this is the time of year to get it out and use it. Creation and bloom, I really love this large piece right here. You know, that obviously could cover up a big chunk of the card, and you've just got a really main focal point. If you like to color, you could go in and color. This one here I painted in with Distress Paints. That's these guys here, which is a little bit of water. And so I didn't have to build up as much color. So those are a great option for painting on these thinner cards. If you emboss it, it's easier to embossing, meaning heat emboss with clear ink, clear embossing powder. Then it makes it, you know, kind of like those velvet color pages. So it's very easy to color in the lines. Autumn leaves, kind of a no-brainer, very similar to the skeleton leaves die from Tim Holtz, so it can kind of mix and match. Offer hospitality, obviously you've got some pumpkins, some leaves, slightly different artistic style, but they're similar kind of vibes to last year. And then these two from Stampers Anonymous, I love this. This is a newer one, Leaf Prints 2. I love stamping these with distressed spray stains. So spraying out some of the spray stains on a nonstick mat, dipping the stamp in it, and then stamping it on the card gives you this really beautiful watercolor look. And then this is ledger script. So again, I obviously do not need 3 different ledger script stamps, but this is just to kind of give you an idea of maybe some things you want to add to your stash or pull from your stash. So there are the stamps, dies, and embossing folders. We'll move on to the last tier. Okay, the bottom tier ends up being kind of my catch-all tier for just random odds and ends, resource books, the Bibles I'm using, scraps, larger items, things like that. It's like the junk drawer of my cart. So I will have my pocket Bible. This actually will probably end up living on the top tier, but whatever Bible I'm working on stays in the bottom. I have my growth book. I get lots of questions about this. I will have it linked down below for you guys. This is where I take all my notes for the devotional kits. So like I said, even though I'm doing the attributes of God in this Bible, I will still be working through the overflowing kit in here. Now I am behind. I only did 6 days of Twisted Scripture. So I need to finish Twisted Scripture and then jump into overflowing. So if you are behind, don't stress. I am behind as well. It does not have to be super elaborate like this with colored pens and stickers and all of that nonsense. I'll probably, you know, kind of streamline things so that I can get through the study and get caught up. But this is a great way to have all of your scripture writing and notes and commentary and everything in one place. So I will be working on overflowing in here. And then comes just larger, like I said, scraps, papers, things like that. So I had actually had some of these printed. These are from Christy Beasley Creative. I do have an affiliate link for her, so I will link that down below. She is a monthly subscription service. She creates all of her own digital art and then each month releases a collection. But if you're part of the subscription, you get access to all of her past art as well. And she does all kinds of things. It's art for like printing prints for home decor. She does like oil labels and recipes. She does homeschool study units. She's got like Bible journaling, stickers that you can print on sticker paper. I mean, it's just a variety of different things. She has a beautiful Christmas collection out right now. But this was actually from some past collections. I can't remember which ones these were from, but I think it was like maybe 3 collections or so ago. I'm pretty sure they're from this year's. But these were just some abstract papers that I had printed, and I actually had these printed for Taryn's retreat that I went to in September, and these were the leftovers I didn't use. And so when I'm working on these cards, sometimes the back will get messy, and so I'll have a separate something that I run through my typewriter and then add to the back. I can do that with these, or I can use these as the front and just have an instant background. And so a few of these had colors that kind of color coordinated. There's a lot more pink in this, but this one especially coordinated with this release and just gives you kind of an instant background. So like I said, this just ends up being my catch-all on the bottom. with different scraps, dyed papers, vintage papers, things like that live in the bottom. So those will be down there. And then I have this. This is a mixed media notebook that I got from Walmart. Mine is a mess because it was in my luggage and my luggage got wet, and so everything got warped, but everything seemed to survive. So like I said, this is just a mixed media book from Walmart. And then this contains all of my ephemera pieces, mostly from Tim Holtz, though I do have some 49 and Market in here, and I will be adding my like Maggie Holmes and crepe paper ones in here as well. And so this just makes it super easy. All I do to attach these is just use a little bit of dot glue runner. It doesn't matter. I like the permanent adhesive. Permanent is not actually permanent. You can still pull these up off of this mixed media paper, but you want to make sure it's the dot adhesive. So I just make sure I have just, a couple stripes of the adhesive, stick it down in here, and it makes it very easy to flip through your ephemera pieces. Now, this idea came from Juicy Christians over at Instagram. She's the one that came up with this idea, or at least that's the first place I had seen it. So I definitely want to give her credit, but it just makes it very easy to have everything stored, easy to flip through. I do have some of the smaller, I think they're the snippets from Tim Holtz. They're like the smaller version of his die cuts. And so these are sized better for those smaller cards, but just adding some other, ephemera bits, there's little labels, things like that. And again, it just makes it so it's all organized and very easy, rather than having drawers of die cuts, everything is stored in this book. This one in particular, the pages are removable. And so I can take out and add pages as I want. So I removed all the pages and just add them in as I need them. So that lives in the bottom of my cart. And then last but not least, just a few more mediums. I've got my tins of archival inks. So I do have some larger archival ink pads. These live on my desk all the time, so they're pretty easy to reach. But these are just my mini ink archival inks. Rather than pulling the ones I need, these are pretty small containers. They just live in the bottom. And then I have my containers of distressed watercolor pencils. Like I said, I won't do a whole lot of watercolor this month, but they are there if I want to grab them. So there's a look of everything that I have in my cart for overflowing and the gratitude for the attributes of God projects this month. Again, everything that I can possibly find will be linked down below for you guys. If you have questions or comments, be sure to leave those down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if it was helpful. If you like these types of videos, subscribe to this channel if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.